Hey guys, welcome back to the Nexus YouTube. Coach Will, Mickey, and Coach Harkin. And we're talking about nutrition mistakes that powerlifters make. So number one mistake we have is not tracking metrics, progression metrics within it. So like powerlifting is a very data focused sport for good reason. We do exactly what we're going to do in competition in the gym, as in like we squat, bench, deadlift with the blades, and very, very measurable. We can track our average and peak intensities over a week, our average volumes over the week, our squat, bench, deadlift volumes over the week, our technique very closely, our projected 1RMs to follow progression, lots of things like that. To make sure that we're moving forward with our strength or whatever particular goal we have at the time. But then when it comes to our nutrition, powerlifters tend to be just put out there kind of like I'll just eat my vegetables and be happy with that. Or I'll just eat like kind of enough to maintain my weight and just be happy with that. But just like training, you want to be progressing in some facet all year round. You want to be improving your size, you want to be losing fat, you want to be doing something at all points. You're not just wasting time. So with nutrition, you want to be doing the same. You want to be growing, or you want to be losing fat. You want to be maintaining weight when you come into competition to focus on recovery. Lots of different ways you can go about it. So when it comes to the nutrition, we have to have some indicators of that progression.
Exactly. So if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, which means over time, we can't manipulate this sort of data. So in my opinion, if you're not paying attention to nutrition during your off season, you're doing yourself a disservice. So a lot of people, generally what they do is 12 weeks out from competition prep, all of a sudden it's go time now. This is where we need to be focusing on our nutrition. And let's just say you do 2 competitions over the course of a calendar year. That's 24 weeks out of a potential 52 that we're actually focusing on our nutrition. So let's say you do devote 100% to your training. Can you really say that you're actually devoting 100% to your training if you're only spending 50% of the year towards your nutrition? So we need to make sure that we're actually monitoring all of this stuff and ensuring that we are building momentum and progressing over time. All right, so I want to get into the second point now, the second common mistake that I see a lot of powerlifters making when it comes to their nutrition, and that is the misunderstanding of macronutrients in general. So what I mean by this is when it comes to protein in particular, I generally see an overemphasis on this. And what I mean by that is extremely high dosing. So people come on board and they're eating incredible amounts of protein that realistically isn't going to carry over maximally to their performance within the gym. So I'm not saying that protein is not important, it absolutely is. But I'm talking about coming on board with 3 grams plus of protein per kilogram body weight on their day-to-day intakes. So that's not necessarily going to add more kilograms to the bar, and it's not necessarily going to add more, performance within the gym. So we want to make sure that when it comes to protein in particular, that we're using this at certain sort of phases of our diet. So if you are going into a weight loss or dieting regime, then perhaps we can put a larger emphasis on protein and push this to a slightly higher range. If we're at a maintenance, then anywhere between sort of 1.8 to 2.2 grams per kilogram body weight is sufficient enough. And then if you're actually going into a surplus, sometimes it can be beneficial to eat slightly less protein so that we have a little bit more room for your calories with carbohydrates and fats. Those two being slightly cheaper and a little bit easier to consume in general. It's also able to shuttle nutrients around the body and into muscle tissues a little bit more effectively. They are cheaper, they do taste incredibly good, and they're easier to consume across the day as well. Finally, they also help manipulate weight a little bit more. So if weight is of concern for you when it comes to the back end of your prep, we can manipulate carbs as a way to manipulate your weight in those final weeks before your competition day. Alright guys, so the third common mistake that I see a lot of people make, powerlifters specifically obviously, with their nutrition is dieting all the way through a competition prep. So a lot of this is as a result due to a failure of the point 1 that I brought up, which means you are leaving everything until 12 weeks out, which is clearly not ideal. So at 12 weeks out, The point is to maximize the prep. This is where we want to be optimizing your recovery, having you feeling really good coming into your training sessions, and this can't be done whilst we're in a calorie deficit. If anyone's dieted long enough or hard enough, you'll understand that burnout and fatigue is just one of the side effects of dieting, and the last thing we want to be feeling during the time of a competition prep. Peaking phases with nutrition are about recovery and performance, and this is best done when we're in at least a maintenance phase throughout our calories. So if you need to spend your entire prep in a deficit to make a certain weight class or something like that, I would say that weight class is probably not the right one for you. Or spend that time during your off season improving body composition, improving the weight that you need to be, so that when your next competition prep comes around, you're setting yourself up for success. You're able to build momentum week to week and bank those wins coming into the competition day itself. All right, so let's jump into the fourth common nutrition mistake I see people make, that being poor food choices across competition day. So usually what I see on comp day is, you've made weight, you've done incredibly well across your competition prep. Now's the time where I can just consume everything inside and consume a whole different array of foods. Please do not do this. What you've spent the last 12 weeks or 6 months of the year building up to could potentially be impacted by the food choices that you're making on your competition day if you're exposing yourself to something different than what you've been eating over the course of your entire prep. Another thing is to make sure that we're ensuring our meal timing is appropriate as well. So getting some breakfast in, getting some foods in across the competition days, so that you're not experiencing any digestive distress or discomfort or anything like that. Electrolyte balances are something that are important here on competition day as well. Getting in some sodium, getting in some potassium, and just fruit in general is really, really important to make sure that you're feeling well fueled coming into every single one of your lifts. Hydration status is another important point here on competition day food. Getting some fluid in, not relying solely on energy drinks, caffeine, fizzy drinks, or Gatorade or something like that. Do actually get some water in as well. And like I said, make sure that you're keeping the same sort of food in, day out. The last thing we want is on competition day, things to go out of control because of some silly food choices. Alright, so the fifth and final point to this series is a lack of foresight when it comes to planning in advance. So usually what I see is a lot of people struggle and putting attention to detail within their plans, not coinciding nutrition and training to work together when it is we're going through weight gaining phases, maintenance phases, dieting phases, and putting all of this together to give you the best possible outcome across your competition calendar.
I think after a comp, I always talk with my coach, reassess my goals. Nutrition is always a part of this. We go, how close was I to my weight class? How easy do I have to cut weight or whatever? Do I have room to put muscle on? How's my health at the moment, like my blood work or stuff like that? Do I need to address anything? Taking all of that and then come up with a plan for definitely like that particular off season or phase into the next comp, but then 6-12 months ahead as well, and kind of go like, all right, this is going to be a gaining phase, this is going to be a fat loss phase, and we're going to focus on health here. And it's not an exact like week by week or type thing, exactly, like life happens, things change, but we're always thinking ahead and we're always planning what we're going to do next with our nutrition. Same with training.
It all comes down to periodization, guys. So I hope you found this video helpful. If there's some points in here that maybe you're not taking care of, please reach out for some help. Comment below on this video if you have any questions in regards to what we've just discussed, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.